What's up, guys? So today we're going to be interviewing Jeff post his 12-week challenge. Jeff has been an extremely active and athletic guy over his life. He loves to push the limits and challenge himself. One thing that I noticed about Jeff during this challenge was his desire for good coaching, right, and his responsiveness to it. I think that within all of his athletic feats, he really realized how much having a good coach helps him, right? Helps him to accomplish something better and faster. You get to hear Jeff share really how the coaching aspect within the challenge really helped him to explore every aspect of his health and drive in a new territory with variables like nutrition, cold plunge, and cleanses. All right, so Jeff, I know you, and I've heard, all the amazing things that you've done when it comes to athletics and training in your past. Tell me a little about who you are, what you do, and then, maybe we can move into some of the stuff about training athletics.
Yeah, sure. My name's Jeff Rifkin, born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. Moved to Arizona when I was 18 to go to Arizona State University. Graduated 2010 and never left. Kind of been in and out of different construction management roles since college. More focused on corporate real estate now, but still overseeing pretty large construction projects.
Large construction projects?
Yep. Work for a company called Willis Towers Watson, WTW, famously known for the Willis Tower, formerly Sears Tower in Chicago. So been with them for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, just covering all North America. Do a lot of traveling for them, opening new offices throughout the country. I have a girlfriend named Alden. She's got 2 kids. They're great. We've been dating for about 2.5 years. Moved in together a few years ago. It's been great. Do a lot of travel together. We do a lot of fun outdoor stuff. She's a big skier. I'm a big snowboarder.
So you've been so very successful in your career. And I know that throughout your life, you've also been very successful and been a very successful athlete and been involved in both athletics and training in many different forms. Could you go into a little bit of that?
Yeah. I guess I got to go back to college, or maybe even high school. Did a lot of various sports in high school, golf, was a swimmer, diver, focused on diving, baseball, did a little bit of gymnastics and track. Going into college, didn't play any sports professionally or at that level, but still maintained a good kind of fitness regimen. Or in college, definitely took advantage of training with fraternity brothers. Found a trainer. It was a good friend of mine. His name's Lee Asher, and kind of showed me or introduced me to CrossFit before CrossFit was really a thing. Doing high intensity, functional fitness types of workouts. Started to do those girl workouts that CrossFit
workouts,
named girl workouts. And started kind of getting exposed to that kind of intensity and exercising. Post-college, I found, an actual CrossFit gym where I started training like religiously for years and took up that as like kind of a full-time sport on top of just my career on the side. 7 years ago, I started to branch out from that style of working out and found ultra running. And long distance endurance running. People looked at me, like, you're not really a runner. Being between 190 and 200 pounds for most my 20s, I decided to just go take shots at 50Ks and 100Ks and 100 milers. Something that I didn't know if I could do or not, but I just kept going after it. And I told the story about how, I first started doing these long kind of obstacle course races, the Spartan races, the Tough Mudders. And
we got one coming up.
We got one coming up in a few weeks. Actually, on my birthday.
Is that your 18th?
Birthday? Yeah. After doing one of those, and then kind of getting pulled into a 24-hour version of those, I was just completely hooked on these longer endurance races. The goal was to do better and better at these races. And then, I just started signing up for marathons, and all of a sudden I'm a marathon runner. And I was like, I don't even want to go crawl through the mud anymore. I'll just go run races. And then found trail running and basically went from a marathon to 100 miler in 10 months in 2018.
That's incredible.
With, I don't know, countless how many races in between, and kind of just did that for the next 4 years. Big ones I did were last year, 100K up in Utah, and did this climbing event up in Utah as well. So it's been a fun kind of journey, kind of pushing the envelope with your fitness and seeing where that takes you and what that does, not just for, the fitness career, but also what does that do for me personally and my business career?
Yeah.
How that motivates me and builds confidence. I know that's some of the things you wanted to talk about.
We've shared great conversations on that before, about how your athletic career and achieving, great things in such an intense sport like CrossFit and frankly, just as intense, but, an endurance sport, like trail running, and how that, the mindset it takes there, how you can transfer that into that mindset in your business life and your work and your career, and how you're able to use that. So, what kind of things do you feel you have transferred from that kind of athletic career to your business life?
I mean, I think David Goggins said it best, years ago. You got to callous your mind. And, you see something hard on paper, and you go out and you give it your best effort, and you might surprise yourself by achieving that goal or that effort. And it makes you kind of look down on everything else that we considered hard, in life. If it's family, if it's work, if it's your boss, if it's your employees or whatever it is, like that stuff's not that hard, Climbing over mountains for 2 days straight is much harder on the mind and on your body.
Yeah.
So the way I transferred kind of those accomplishments and like that idea that hard isn't that hard, really breaking down what the task is or what's troubling you in life and working through it. Like if I can get myself from this point to that point, like I should be able to work myself from this assignment to the next assignment, or, don't stress, like you can do this. You've done much harder things. And the thing that I used to tell people, and it's kind of common in the ultra world, is, 100 miler is like 20% fitness, 80% mental, right? Because after a certain point early in the race, like it's not fun to run anymore, until you cross that finish line. It's the same thing with anything further than that to it, but the percentages are even worse. So if you learn how to just live in a state of, I don't want to say misery, but just toughness, everything else in life gets a little bit easier. The drive to work's not as bad. The getting up at 5 a.m. to go train isn't as bad anymore. So getting in 32-degree water every morning at, before sunrise isn't that hard anymore. So, and then the other component to it, the people you work with, like if you're trying to go into a meeting and you're talking to execs or CFOs or, people of leadership and roles within a company or clients, those guys haven't done a 100-miler race through the mountains. So it's not like you're better than them. It's just like, I've done something great too, like, and it kind of levels the playing field, at least in your mind. And that's, I think, one of the bigger takeaways I've gotten is just being able to just communicate and be humble about what you've done. And everyone's human, and you kind of just put everyone on the same playing field sometimes.
So it sounds like the challenges that you chose to and put yourself through and to go through and complete in the fitness world, you're able to transfer those into work and your business life by seeing then things that this is easier, right? These things are easier than things that I'm able to do.
And it's also the commitment, right? To training and being on time and, doing your assignments or your work or whatever. When you operate at such a high level to perform like in a fitness kind of space, that translates pretty easily to your work.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that just happened naturally throughout the whole like process of becoming endurance athlete, which is crazy to say because that wasn't the path I was trying to shoot. It just kind of happened organically through peer pressure of friends and kind of always wanting to push the envelope and kind of see where this would take me.
You pushed the envelope for sure.
In a lot of different ways. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you also gained a lot of confidence naturally out of that. Yeah. That really translated over into, business, but also, socially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the confidence part came from leading other athletes or having that camaraderie with the athletes. I mean, you remember the 11 Summits charity things where we hiked 11 mountains over 2 days in the state of Arizona.
Yeah.
I was always one of those leaders of that organization, coaching up, the other athletes, kind of doing the programming on what to expect and how to train for an event like that, 50 plus miles, 20,000 feet of vertical climbing.
Yeah.
And then having people trust and look up to you, at least for that guidance, help build the confidence too. And that was like a volunteer role. It's not like I made money or had any certifications or anything like that to even guide people on these, more or less dangerous, endeavors. But even just hiking the Grand Canyon, I'm always one of those people that people look for advice. Even if it's gear, shoes, socks, what to do, what not to do, what to wear, what not to wear.
Well, you shared a couple of things there that were very interesting, right? You shared camaraderie and that peer pressure, right? Or accountability. So camaraderie and accountability, and, having that camaraderie, accountability in a group of guys when you're faced with, a great challenge, what are your experiences and things like that?
Well, I think some of those early on peer pressure things, I didn't know how hard the challenges were going to be. I always share like what really was the catalyst of all this like endurance stuff was originally a triple rim in the Grand Canyon, where I was just like invited to go, didn't know what to expect, had never been there before, maybe as a kid, but just on the rim, never hiked down. And I remember going with two other guys, and we started at 8 p.m., which I just didn't understand.
Starting hiking.
I was like, we're going to do what? When? And literally hiked nonstop till sunrise when we got to the North Rim, completely like gassed, exhausted. It was the hardest thing I had ever done physically. It took, I don't know, like 10 to 12 hours to just get there. And I'm looking at the other two guys thinking like, we're not going back, right? Like we're done. We're going to get like a bus or a shuttle. I don't care how much it costs. And we hiked all the way back. I was half done, ready to quit, and walked all the way back. If anyone's ever done the Grand Canyon, a triple rim is no easy feat. It's 12,000 feet of vertical climbing. There's 40 to 50 miles based on which trails you take. And I had never even done anything over 5 miles, and had the wrong backpack, had bad shoes, not the right socks, way too much weight in my bag. And it's like, if I could do that and knowing that I wanted to quit like halfway, didn't think I had it in the tank to do anymore. What else can I do like out there that's hard? Because it was one of the greatest feelings getting to the top of the South Rim. And again, it was already nighttime. This is like the second night of this event. And crying, like literally like choking up and almost crying because I didn't think I could do that. Like I was fit, I was strong, I was a CrossFitter. It kind of opened my eyes to what else can I do that's crazy. And then right after that, we did the world's toughest mudder, the 24-hour obstacle course race. Like I didn't think I could do that. And then a few weeks later, I did a marathon, and then the story goes on like that.
Along the way, you kept getting these wins. You kept challenging yourself, right? You kept getting these wins, and each win just cascaded you into more and more success within that arena. Is that? Yeah,
I would agree. Those first few years of races, I finished every race. And, the shorter races, the 5, 10, 15K type of races, I was actually placing pretty high up, in the top 5%. Like I was a fast runner, but I was also able to run, these longer distance races. It just felt like I had this momentum and, the eagerness to just keep trying new things. It really wasn't until I did the Cocodona race where I actually DNF'd and did not finish a race. And even that was like a lesson to learn too. Like you're not going to win everything in life. I'm like, what lesson can I pull from this? I don't want to use the word failure, but, not being able to finish something that I started. It was the first time in that whole kind of race career where I didn't finish, but I was still like super proud of myself and happy. And, what can I take away from it? Haven't been back to that race. I don't know if that's ever going to be in the cards again, but, I found that limit in the sport. To be honest, I think ever since that point, it's kind of faded too. You know, the desire to go chase at least the running thing. Now I'm looking into other things.
Yeah.
Climbing, you know, doing other kind of endurance races, maybe stage races where you run a distance point to point, rest, and then do it again the next day. So we'll see what happens in the future. You know,
you shared that you did not finish, right? But it sounds like going into that challenge, because of your history with going into these difficult, tough challenges, that you found that it was just a lesson to learn and not a failure or not a did not finish. It was more of a, this is part of life. This is part of my journey. And, you know, it sounds like it made it sting that much less and made it a positive thing almost for you.
Yeah. I think at that point in my life too, I was kind of rewiring my mind, my mindset, and, you know, in trying to only see positive in a lot of things, especially things that could be negative in your life. I chose to drop. It wasn't like I was fully injured. I was about to be injured, I think. You know, I had a great support team out there on the course with me, you know, helping me out, that were trying not to get me to quit. But, you know, in my body and, you know, my mind, I felt complete, you know. There you go. The cup was filled even with just this distance. Yeah. Do I wish I probably could have went further? Yeah. But, you know, I was risking missing cutoff times and stuff just because I wasn't moving as fast as I had to. And I guess there is, you know, a threshold where you can get it done and then like you're not getting it done. So, so we'll see what happens. You've had a pretty storied athletic career, going from, you know, diving to, you know, intense CrossFit and these endurance races. So now you've got a girlfriend, kids at home. You've been very successful in business, and you know, what's your routine now? What do you do now? So for the most part, you know, a week of training is a few days in the gym with you, right? Doing one-on-one, not one-on-one, but our group training. Yeah. At least three times a week. And then I'm trying to get back on the trails at least 3 times a week. Various different distances and elevation gains and stuff like that. You know, I had somewhat of an injury this last year, just suffering from just kind of chronic back pain. I don't know if it's fully related to running or just tweaked it really bad. You know, lifting, the differences between 36-year-old Jeff and 26-year-old Jeff are massive, right? Like I just never had to worry about my body. Like, you know, it was always ready for me, regardless of how much I trained or ran. It was just always ready to just do more. Now I feel like I'm an old man and it's hard to, you know, quite literally put the miles in. I know, stay consistent. Yeah. You know, it's taking longer to recover. It's taking, you know, it's taking more focus on nutrition to maintain weight or lose weight. It's just a lot. The variables that I didn't really care about are more important now. Before it was just like, well, I'll just go run more, or I'll go do something else. Like I'll do push-ups or this or that. And, you know, I kind of maintained just this same physique for so long. And then, you know, when the back issues started to happen, it was just like so much harder to stay healthy and be healthy. You know, it kind of drags you down, put me in a spot where like, well, what do I do now? Cause this is foreign to me. Yeah. Cause if you remember, I came to you like, you know, it was a little over a year ago, I think. And I was like, I need help. Like for someone who has this much background in fitness and spent, I don't know how many hours in the gym, and then on the trails and stuff, it's like, I need help trying to figure out how to maintain this new body of mine or this body I'm trying to repair. Right. Yeah. I didn't know how to do it on my own. And that's when I came to you, and anyone who listens to this or watches this, Josh and I trained together, you know, was it 4 years ago? Right. Kind of in that middle of the ultra running career. I remember you'd run to the gym, do your workout, and then do a run home. Yeah, I ain't doing that. I wouldn't do that now.
I remember pulling up one of your races and tracking you in the gym one day. I can't remember which race it was though.
I don't know how many years was that, 4 or 5 years ago?
But yeah, about
just
4.
like completely 2 different athletes, I guess, at that point. Like I think same attitude,
Same attitude. That's right.
But
mentally you're there.
Mentally I'm there, but the body is just like, it's like almost the mind's waiting for the body to catch up sometimes. And you can blame injury, you can blame other things. I think it's just part of it's getting a little old and having the same expectations of when I was younger.
Well, it sounds like you've really focused on the things you can control. Even in these times, you focus on areas that you can control, areas that opportunities of things that you can control when you shared about nutrition and doing these other things to stay in shape, to accomplish what you want to accomplish athletically and for your fitness.
Had it been within the last year, I was seeing a specialist for, my back, and she was doing some, back work on me, more Reiki type stuff too. And she asked me, was there anything that came up, while I was doing work on your back? And I was like, yeah, actually, for so long, my body took care of me. And it was like, it was this transition period where it's time to take care of my body, and that's really, from that point on, it kind of kicked off this like health, like let's do anything healthy. Let's go look at nutrition. Let's go look at, what can we do for our body? Like the cold plunging, the infrared saunas, doing various different like cleanses, and understanding like your gut biome and how does that affect the rest of your chemistry of your body, eliminating certain foods, getting blood work done, all these things that I didn't really ever think about. But it's like, if I have access to all these tools, like why wouldn't I explore what they can do for me?
Yeah.
And that was probably one of the biggest things. And a lot of this was kicked off when we did our challenge, the 90-day challenge. It's like, all right, what can I get into now that I probably would have, really spent time thinking about or working through. Since then, like the cold ice baths, like we've been doing them every morning. I actually did one 30 minutes before I came over here. Tons of stuff in nutrition that I'm starting to realize, like, I can't eat the same way I did when I was in my 20s. Certain, vitamins I'm like deficient in that I didn't even think about. And that was through the blood work analysis. So there's just this plethora of, medical advice just waiting for us to tap into as long as you're open to it. It's definitely something that I'm really taking out of the whole challenge and idea of like taking care of my body now instead of my body taking care of me. Because we're at that age where, things start to happen, like, high cholesterol, heart disease, other types of autoimmune stuff. So it's a no-brainer to start focusing on this in your mid to late 30s.
It sounds like you've chosen to spend the time and really hone in on some of the details so that you can take care of your body in this time.
Yeah. And I think a big part of that is my partner, Alden. She's definitely an advocate for a lot of these things that I wouldn't have tried on my own. Yeah. Especially, some of the cleansing stuff. Like I just wasn't aware of it. So she's done a lot of research. She's very strategic. She'll be like, I'm going to start doing this next week. And then I'm like, well, I'm going to do it too, knowing that I would say that. So, a lot of these things I'm exploring now are, because of her and, her commitment to being healthy as well. And I think that's really important too, at least in a family dynamic, is having accountability, but also someone to do it with. There you go. Within your household, making sure that we're eating the right things and share the responsibility of cooking, especially when you have kids. And it's like, it's so easy just to go get Chipotle, which we still do, but maybe, it's not twice a week, it's once a week.
There you go.
And how does that all play in with whatever you're practicing? She did the blood work too. Yeah. And we were actually, aligned on a lot of deficiencies, which makes sense because we eat pretty much the same stuff.
Interesting.
Vitamin D, some B12 type stuff. Having that family commitment to kind of striving for a healthier lifestyle is important, I think, too, because if one person's not doing it, the other person's probably going to not do it as well. Yeah. Give Alden a lot of credit for helping me, make the right decisions and trying new things. She's in the cold plunge twice as much as I am.
Twice as much as you?
She loves it. So
loves it.
She's the one who set the temp at 33 degrees. And I was like, can't we just do 45 degrees? But, she's tough. mental toughness for sure. And I can't just let her do it. I got to go do it now too.
It sounds like, a theme is kind of developing here throughout, your athletic career and and now you have Alden at home, and it seems like having somebody there to not only hold you accountable, but also kind of have this, camaraderie with, but also a little competitiveness too there is a good thing.
Definitely. I think that, CrossFit, that's all that CrossFit was competition. Yeah. You literally write your name on the board and your score. Like how can it get any more competitive on a day-to-day basis? And then running, you're just out there. The running career was interesting. Obviously you're in a race, you want to do well. The shorter races were more competitive for me, but the competition was always in your mind too.
Yeah.
Which made it interesting. So doing any kind of challenge in the future for me, and what I saw in the 90-day fitness thing we did was having a little bit of competitiveness, and like having that at home too, just helps it even more.
Having that, competitive spirit is a good thing, but I think having that camaraderie I've seen, and the people that I've seen, it seems that camaraderie, that accountability piece with a little bit of competition is always just a great mix.
Yeah. Going back to the workouts, I know I didn't get a whole lot of workouts with some of the other guys that were doing the program, but like seeing Dave every morning at 6 on Friday I was just pushing his buttons a little bit, when he's pushing that sled.
Fun. Yeah. Oh yeah.
For some reason he always had sled pushes on Friday. But, he would ask me like, how's it going for you? And it's just like, we would share like just kind of what we're going through. So that whole camaraderie part is, I think, big too, whenever you're trying to do something that's completely out of the norm, because you're on the adventure together almost.
Yeah. There you go. Adventure together.
I always say like, you're suffering together. But, the more and more exposure you get to some of those other guys that are doing it. I know we did quite a few events, outside of the gym. We did pickleball.
Yeah.
I know you guys hiked and stuff like that. So,
you didn't travel so much.
If I didn't travel so much, I would have participated in all that.
Yeah.
I share my Stravas. You guys see who
that
King of the Mountain is.
Sharing all our stuff on Strava and like what everyone was doing, I thought it was really good. It got, some of the guys who weren't as active to really get moving. I don't know if I shared that with you before, but it got some of those guys like, okay, I got to get on this more.
Yeah.
And then they started doing
And that's kind of what, the reason why I didn't mean to like share to brag. It was to show that like, for an hour, once or twice a week, you can go do this trail and get it done. And feel great after it.
Yeah.
And maybe start a new pattern too.
Yeah. There you go.
I know we talk about this a lot is the patterns we have in our behavior, our life. If you don't have anyone to help break that pattern, rarely does it ever get broken.
Yeah.
So showing the other guys like, hey, I do this, you should go do it too. Cause at least someone's like, what trail is that? And I'm happy to share, and then maybe put in a little comment like, beat that time. See what you can do.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting anyone to go out there and go run stuff like I do, but the encouragement to just go out, be outside and put a podcast on or
get more done.
Listen to a book. Like if you're going to be on the couch anyway, doing something like listening or watching TV, just go listen to the game while you go walk or the dog around the block or something. So massive opportunity for growth when you have someone to do it with.
Massive opportunity for growth when you have someone else to do it with.
Yeah. Or to break that pattern. Sometimes it's just so hard to just change on your own.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big part too, was doing blood work and seeing like, I wasn't hoping for something to be wrong, but like, give me a reason to like do something different or be more focused or be better with nutrition.
Yeah.
Luckily, like there was nothing major, other than just some low levels of vitamins and stuff like that. But, the last thing I ever want is to one day find out I'm sick, and like I just, only because I didn't know, like I neglected, to go get checked up. Things do happen to our health, either by behavioral or hereditary. And the sooner you can find those things out, the sooner, you can recover and be healthy.
And the more you can do, early on, the better. Right. Mm-hmm. I know you shared, with me, several stories of feeling, capability and the ability to accomplish and do things, and how important that has been to you.
I've seemed to always put myself in positions to have to help other people. or save someone. I've saved a few people's lives, people from drowning, people from being stuck out in the desert with heat exhaustion, like where if they didn't get the necessary help, within an hour, they could be dead. And some of these things required me to be extremely fit. Like to go save a 300-pound man from drowning is no easy task. It almost killed me. This man was swimming with his family. We were at Bartlett Lake, and his kid was on a raft. Maybe he had been less than 3 years old. Definitely didn't know how to swim on his own. Caught the current and started drifting away. And the dad was casually trying to swim after him. At one point, he wasn't moving. And I don't know if you've ever seen someone drown before, but it's not this splish splash thing. It's a very slow, bobbing up the head.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was close enough where I could see him, not doing well, and his kid still floating out further. Just without thinking, me and a friend just bolted out into the lake and saved them. And the whole thing was that I shared with the guys was I never want to be that dad where I couldn't go save my son. And I didn't want fitness to be the reason. Yeah. If I could just maintain a level of fitness where I'm capable of saving someone's life, obviously I can't save everyone's life in every situation, but what if I couldn't have saved that guy, Yeah. That would haunt me for the rest of my life. Or if his kid didn't make it, I just never wanted that to happen to me. And that was just a huge thing to hold on to. And so, that's been this kind of the foundation of the why, right? Yeah. For me. Yeah. More than just being healthy, right? It was just, if I'm ever needed in a situation, can I perform the way I want to perform?
Connecting to that why is just so powerful. Yeah. That's from what I found. And, connecting the dots for people just really helps. I've seen it help them so much in accomplishing what they want to accomplish when it comes to their health and fitness. It's very, very important. In the challenge we did, we focused on that, right? We spent some time to figure that out, and each guy had to figure that out. It sounds like in that story you just shared, the capability or the ability to be able to do those things was very important, right? To that dad and that kid, yes, very, very important. But to be the best for those around you, you have to focus on yourself, right? You have to make yourself better. You have to challenge yourself.
Yeah. And to think if everyone had that mentality too, how powerful our relationships would be to have trust and confidence in one another to be there for each other. And it doesn't even have to be physically, right? Just the mindset of being there. And the whole reason why I do the stuff I do, but it has become more important to me now that I have 2 boys in my life. It's just I think about everything different in the world. Even when they're just in the backseat of the car, not driving so fast, or, keeping an eye on them when they're in and out of the pool and stuff, don't run, all the stuff that my dad yelled at me,
Yeah. Right. So you've had a very, storied athletic career. We thank you for sharing about that. You've been very successful in business. We just finished this 90-day challenge. What was it that motivated you to decide that you wanted to do this challenge with us?
I think what motivated me was, I mentioned, kind of coming in and out of that back injury and just seeing the opportunity to all right, this is a good point to hit the ground running and kind of try and accomplish some goals. I don't want to say I've been lazy. It's just it's been really difficult to get that ball moving. And, having, a challenge in front of me is something just that helped me get motivated. Having the other guys do it too was fun. And then having you there as accountability too. And, you always ask me, how can I help you? And I was like, well, get on my butt about, are you on the trail yet? And, it was I couldn't go to bed until I got, those other things checked off the box. It was just, I saw it as an opportunity to get that ball moving.
I gotcha.
And, I wasn't really interested in winning it, or anything like that. It was just more, what can I do from this point forward that is going to help me or benefit me in either the fitness or just overall wellness too. Yeah.
I found with that, your challenge that we did that, it was very good to see that, there was a winner, but all the guys took a lesson out of it. Yeah. All the guys took grew out of it. And really, I think in my mind, everybody really won something, right?
Yeah. I think it's like, how do you measure success, right?
Yeah.
Is it the number on the scale, or is it the pounds gained of muscle, or is it like, do you feel better? If you just stayed the same weight, you became more fit, but you feel better, like, isn't that a win still too? Hearing the stories from the other guys, and granted, they're a little bit older. I mean, the one gentleman that got his blood work done, and for the first time in like 30 years, he had all green check boxes next to his data, and his doctor's like, what have you been doing? It's just dedication to being fit. And I mean, that's a massive success. Or if you just lose weight, or, all the guys sharing, like, I haven't worn these jeans in, I don't know how many years. Like, for me, my body shape and size kind of remained the same, but, I felt great about all the other stuff I did, the nutrition stuff, the cleansing, the getting cold plunges in, all that other stuff, and knowing more about my body.
Yeah.
So, I think all the guys had their own success stories throughout, or at least post challenge. So, it was fun to see.
It was a beautiful thing to watch, honestly, to see all that. And, we were sharing earlier about, how you first began endurance running and moved into that 100-miler within, 10 months. You had those kind of difficult challenges. They were difficult at the time, but, when you look back, on that, from that 100-mile to that Grand Canyon, you're going, wait a second, what's hard here, right? What's hard? And it sounds like those wins cascaded into more and more wins, right? More challenges, more wins. Yeah,
definitely. I think you just become more confident or trusting your ability to just get it done. And, I don't think that can be taught. You have to live that.
Yeah.
You have, I see it in the kids, like, they're so afraid to try things. It's like, well, just go try and see what you can get. They play baseball and football. It's, where does that path lead you when you do that first event, or that first, thing that you didn't think you could do? It kind of changes who you are.
Totally.
And, that thing that was hard is now not so hard. And it's like, all right, what's hard now?
Yeah.
And then if that keeps growing, it's like, where do you end up?
Yeah.
And
you end up doing a 250-mile race.
We'll see. I mean, that's pretty extreme. But even like doing something that you've never even done before, trying new things is, I think, is like maybe the underlying theme of, what my experience was. They were really hard things, but it just led me down this path of kind of all these wins, and it made me feel great, and it made me grow. It made me have a tougher mind, that mindset. Like I said earlier, David Goggins, callous the mind, makes it harder to quit.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jeff, you've been very successful, as an athlete in the past. And you are a very fit guy. What motivated you, to start this 90-day challenge?
I think what motivated me, more than anything, was just taking the opportunity to kind of set another goal, right? I don't have that race in front of me. I've been working through injuries the last year. It was just an opportunity to focus on the fitness again, and move towards, achieving another goal, or, what I would call like a win, in the past from the racing. Through your programming and accountability, it was just not an easy way out to, like, I'm not going to worry about this. It was like, something to hold me accountable to either focus on the fitness, getting back into running, working on nutrition. So it was the opportunity to even just get back into something.
So the opportunity then to put a challenge, something difficult in front of you to be able to accomplish.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, it's always easier to do things like as a group. Being a challenge, with other men, something to be competitive with, and do as a group, and hold each other accountable, and kind of the camaraderie thing of it. I wasn't expecting to, get back into, race shape and stuff like that, but it was a good reset of understanding where my body is and taking advantage of just, the whole challenge and kind of seeing where it took me.
So a good reset.
Good reset, yeah.
You were able to do a lot of difficult things and a lot of challenging things and get a lot out of that on your own. What did you get, out of this challenge that, you don't feel like what did you get out of this challenge?
What I got most out of the challenge was understanding my body today and not expecting my body to perform or be the way that it did 5-10 years ago. And, how do I have to adapt to make this body work now? Like I said, it was so much easier to stay fit when you're younger. And it was like 34 years old, like everything shifted, nutrition had to change, the way I trained had to change, recovery had to change. So this has shown me by pushing a little bit harder than just our normal workouts, I've come to realize kind of what those changes are and how to maintain and move forward with them.
So it sounds like having that challenge, having that camaraderie, that competitiveness between the guys, and even accountability really helped you to accomplish what you wanted out of this challenge.
I think so. My expectations maybe have changed from day one to probably about halfway, and then where I ended. I really thought it was going to be easier to lose weight and build muscle, but I had the mentality of what I did 5 years ago rather than assessing what my body's doing in the moment. And I mean, I think that's the biggest takeaway is, how things have changed and how if this was another 90-day challenge, I would do it completely different.
Yeah.
I would focus more on the nutrition or like really look into the macros, do a lot more of the logging of the food, and really pay closer attention to the nutrition side. Muscle can only build so fast.
Yeah, right.
It's not like I can just do more curls and all of a sudden I have 10 more pounds of muscle, right? It's all derived from your food. What are you putting in your body? Maybe explore more supplements, vitamins, stuff like that, which I'm just breaking into through the blood work that, I did.
That's one of the things through the challenge that the guys said was very difficult was to do the logging. But
it's
in the
a chore.
End, it is. But in the end, a lot of the guys said, man, that logging really helped me.
Yeah.
Because they were able to help, not only were they, was I holding me accountable, but they started holding themselves more accountable when all they had to do was write it down and focus on it just a little bit more. And spending that time and that energy and that effort of their focus really helped them a lot.
I think that, for those who have never done that before, because I've logged food before, I've tracked it before, but those who haven't, you're a little bit in the dark of how much you're really consuming sometimes. Yeah. Especially when say you're someone who likes to drink, beer or something that's liquid calories, and all of a sudden you had, you watched the football game and drink 4 beers. That's like almost 1,000 calories or something like, that's half of your daily intake of what you're supposed to take.
Right.
I think, or hopefully those guys got a lot out of just seeing how food adds up throughout the day. And, or vice versa. Like, you get to the end of the day and you're like, I was 200 calories under my, if you want to call it allowance or something, or your metabolic rate. Those little wins and seeing results by, losing, a pound or two that week or something like that. So, it was fun to see those guys who have never tracked food before see the results that were positive.
They really got to put in perspective, what did they do and what did they get? Right. And they connected the dot there. And then, from that you can say, okay, do I like what I got? Or do I not like it? Do I want to do more of that or less of that to get more or less? Right. So really, once you can see that from that perspective, things change. It makes it so much easier. Right.
Yeah. So it was great seeing those other guys really benefit from.
Well, a lot of them hadn't even done it ever before, right? Like you shared, they hadn't done it, and taking the time and energy to shift their focus to do it was just an incredible thing to see.
Yeah, I agree. So that's one thing that if we were to go back, I'd focus more on nutrition tracking and really dialing in on what's been working for me and what's not.
Jeff, thank you so much for coming in and doing this. It was really a pleasure having you on, and I think there's going to be a lot of people that can benefit from what you shared and your story.
It was my pleasure. I appreciate you putting the whole challenge together. It was fun, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, what are we doing next? Well, we got our Spartan race next, but
we'll see how the Spartan race goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, grateful for your leadership and your coaching.
It was just fantastic.
Thank you.
So if you want to see real results from real people, go check out our client testimonials on YouTube. If you're interested in seeing more information about what you can do daily to help you get closer to your goals, follow us on socials. The links are in the description. If you'd like to learn more about the challenge, come to our website at justmovelife.com. If you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always on to help.